Hi everybody, Scott McGinnis here, Armsportvideos. We're still at the Arnold Classic in Columbus, Ohio. As you can see, sitting beside me today for my In Focus guest is two-time world champion, four-time Canadian champion, John Miastic winner, Ryan Espey from Portage La Prairie, Manitoba. Hi Ryan, how you doing?
Good, thanks for having me, Scott.
Oh, thanks for coming by, I really appreciate it. First, tell me how you got interested in organized arm wrestling.
1997, I entered a small tournament that was being held at a bar in my hometown, Portage La Prairie, Manitoba. And a guy by the name of Miles Wolko was running a tournament. I showed up. He was the referee, the MC, the scorekeeper. He was doing it all. Plus talking on a microphone and having it recorded for television, doing color commentary while it was all going on.
So he's doing all this at the same time?
Yeah, drinking a beer and smoking a cigarette too, I might add. And
classic.
I entered the right arm only division, and I ended up winning against a bunch of local guys. And
okay.
Got myself on local cable access TV. I thought that was pretty good at the time.
Cool, yeah, especially for your first tournament.
Yeah, so Miles, he says he immediately noticed something in me, but it was more like I had to bother him constantly to train with me and show me some stuff. And this was a series of 5 tournaments, and I ended up coming back and doing the 5th one, which was the big final. And for the first tournament I entered, I won a T-shirt, and I went into the big final match with the local cable access crew there again, and I ended up winning that. But I entered both right and left this time. And my first big prize in our arm wrestling tournament was a case of beer.
So, so that's for the series of 5 tournaments. You won a case of beer?
A case of beer for each arm. So I won 2 12-packs. 2 12-packs of Labatt's Light. And that was in June of 1997. And 3 months later, I went to the Nationals.
Okay, so that's quite a leap from going to a small local tournament to going. Where were the Nationals held that year?
Kelowna, BC.
And how'd you do?
I didn't do very good.
2 up and 2 down,
two up, 2 down. My first arm wrestling experience there was Miles telling me to grip up with this little wee guy that I just met. His name was Dave Hicks. He says,
yeah.
Grip up with Dave. You're not going to believe this guy. So I'm gripping up with Dave, and he's wearing his referee shirt. And he's like, give me some pressure here. And just give me a little more, and I'm giving him everything I've got. And Dave's just moving his hand around and messing around with me. And I thought, man, I'm in trouble during this tournament. This little guy's just doing whatever he wants with me. And my first match of the tournament was Mike Gould, both arms. And he was reigning world champion at the time, and I went down pretty fast.
So that was your first match, was Mike Gould. Who else did you pull? Do you remember who else you pulled?
I actually pulled, I think it was Glenn Schlavinsky from BC was one of my other matches. And Chris Madonna, I don't remember where he's from exactly, but I remember him.
Okay.
And those guys both beat me as well.
So pretty humbling experience. I suppose you're coming out of Portage thinking, hey, I'm okay and I'm strong. And
I think Miles wanted me to see if I'd stay with it after I took a bad beating. And he always used to tell me, he says, Junior, give it a year, like he thought I was going to quit, and he's had to convince me to stay around. But I knew I was going to stick with it, even though I pretty much.
So that leads me to my next question. So what? Because there are times you see, and you yourself probably you see new guys come out, and they're 2 and done, and then you never see them again. So what made you want to keep coming back?
I don't know. I mean, to me, if anything's worth doing, it shouldn't be easy, right?
Right.
Maybe they're genuinely not interested in the sport. Maybe they're just, I don't know what it is. It could be something different for everybody. It could be a lack of heart. Could be, I don't know what it is. But
so is this something inside of you just wanting, okay, I got my butt kicked, but I'm going to come back stronger, better, whatever?
Yeah, it took me a long time too. I didn't beat Mike Gould for a few years.
No. So okay, you come back from your first experience at the Nationals, and then you go back home to Portage. So in Portage at the time, there was guys that were still able to beat you. I mean, you're a pretty big guy.
I could beat everybody in Portage except for Miles. He was living in Portage at the time, and I used to bug him every week. I'd go into Winnipeg and I'd train with Terry DeBates and Mike Barrett. And Terry DeBates beat me the first practice I was at. He was beating me. He was about 145 pounds at the time, and I was sitting around 260, 265.
That's got to be tough on the ego. It has to be.
It was, yeah. But I learned enough in my first practice that I could beat him by the end of it.
Okay. Okay.
So, Mike Barrett, on the other hand, who's
Yeah.
the guy that was world champion at 165 pounds at the time. It took me years. It took me 3 years, I think, to beat Mike consistently.
Wow. Wow. Okay, so that's your first experience at the Nationals. So you go back home, you're training. So I'm assuming you're following the circuit around Manitoba, learning and getting better all the time.
There wasn't much of a circuit. It was
No?
a couple tournaments here and there.
Yeah.
And then provincials.
So nothing overly organized at that time?
And at the time, we still allowed, our provincials were still open.
Okay.
And the guys from northwestern Ontario would come in and compete at our provincial championships. And my first provincials was actually not until 1998.
Okay.
I should have, I got a bye, I guess you could say, into the 97 Nationals. But I competed at the 1998 provincials, and I lost. I got runner-up with the left arm to Ken Farragher. I don't know if anybody remembers that. But
I don't remember that name.
He's been to the World Championships. He was there in 1998 in Thunder Bay.
Okay.
Good arm wrestler.
Yeah. So that was with your left hand?
Yeah.
How about right?
Right-handed, I think I got fourth.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So when did you go to the Nationals and actually place where you thought you should, or place half decent where you were happier with your performance? When did that finally happen for you?
Oh, wow. 1998 Nationals, I think I went, I won one match.
Yeah.
I ended up getting based on that one match, I won a left arm match.
Okay.
And I got a bronze medal because of that left arm match.
Okay.
And, yeah, I think I got fourth with the right arm that year, but there was only 4 guys in the class. I lost to Earl Wilson and big guy from Rainy River, Ontario. If I thought about it, I could remember his name, but I can't. It escapes me right now. 1999, I didn't go to the Nationals. They were in the Maritimes. I couldn't afford it. I went back in 2000 to Kelowna.
That's the first time I remember seeing you at the Nationals, was 2000 Kelowna.
Yeah, I didn't do very well there either.
That's not what I was getting at, but okay.
I mean, I did okay. I think I won a couple of matches, and I think I got a couple of third-place trophies.
I think it was thirds,
yeah,
wasn't it? I think so, yeah.
But I won the left arm in 2001.
Okay.
And that was my first Canadian championship.
So do you remember who you beat, who you had to beat in the final for your first national title?
Yeah, it was José Plante.
Okay. From Ontario.
Yeah.
So that's 2001. 2002, how did you do in 2002? That was North Bay.
I went in, actually, and I went on to the World Championships in 2001.
I remember because I was at Springfield, Illinois.
The funny part about the 2001 World Championships is I got knocked out right away with the left arm.
Okay.
And I got a bye based on people not... The class just wasn't full.
It wasn't
so
full?
I had to pull right arm.
Okay.
I ended up on the A-side final. And I had a 5-minute long match with Anatoly he's formerly from Russia.
From Russia, yeah.
Now he's in Ontario. And I lost that match, and I somehow ended up in fourth, but I don't know how that happened. I mean, it doesn't really mathematically make sense.
No, well.
But 2002 Nationals in North Bay, I got third that year. I went back after winning, and I got third both arms behind Greg Boyes and Mike Gould.
And Mike Gould, okay. Yeah. But then 2002, you go to the Worlds in Springfield.
Yeah, Mike Gould gave me his spot to go to the Worlds in Springfield. He didn't want to go, and I ended up winning.
Yeah, that was... I was standing behind the camera. I don't know how excited you were. Well, I do know how excited you were because the display of emotion afterwards was pretty evident. But damn, I was excited. I was excited watching that match. It was a great match in the finals between you and I don't remember the Russian's name, but it was you and somebody from Russia in the final, was it not?
Yes, it was. Yeah, and I don't remember his name either. I've got it written down somewhere. But
yeah.
I ended up winning that, which is strange. Actually, Greg ended up placing fifth there. And then we switched spots the next day for the right arm. I ended up with fifth, and he ended up winning.
And he ended up with first.
Yeah.
Wow, unbelievable. So that was your first world title. So then we're into 2003. Is there anybody as you're getting better? Who's challenging you out west? Do you have guys that that can step up and challenge you, or do you don't get to pull many guys your strength and size?
I believe it was Best in the West tournament in Red Deer.
Okay.
2002 or 2003 as reigning world champion. I went out there and I went against Len Houghton.
Okay.
And he actually beat me both arms.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a tough one. I mean, to think that there's still guys in Western Canada that could still give me a go when I was...
especially when you're the reigning world champion, right? Yeah.
It's funny how this sport works sometimes, but from that, I did not go to nationals that year. They were back, I believe they were in the Maritimes again.
2003? Yeah, I think they were in New Brunswick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I didn't get to go that year.
But you did get to go to Worlds in Ottawa.
That's correct. I was going to fly to the Worlds as team captain.
Okay.
And there was, I mean, later on I found out there was a little controversy there. I mean, Greg gave me his spot basically right before that tournament.
Okay.
So I could arm wrestle left-handed only.
Okay.
Because I was going to be there anyway. I don't know what the controversy was, that maybe some guys should have got offered the spot before me because they're at the Nationals.
Right.
And my understanding was that they already had been offered that and nobody took it. So, 2003 World Championships comes along, and I was picked to place second or third because Christian Binney was there.
Christian was there, yeah.
Everyone thought he was going to walk through that tournament fairly easily.
Yeah.
And I beat him left-handed.
Was that for the title? Was that in the finals?
I beat him earlier in the day, and then I beat him again in the final.
Okay. So that was for your left-hand final. I don't know what controversy there was, if any, and that's that's not why I'm here, and I'm not here to dig up old stuff and whatever. So 2003, then we're on to 2004. Did you hosted the Nationals? Is that correct? 2004?
That's correct. Yeah, I hosted the Nationals in Portage La Prairie. Everybody, I know there's a lot of people that say Winnipeg or Brandon or something like that, but it was actually Portage La Prairie, Manitoba in 2004.
Okay, and did you compete as well?
I did. One of the toughest super heavyweight classes that ever showed up to a national championship before.
Okay.
I won the left arm. I beat Len Houghton and Mike Gould in the same tournament.
Left-handed?
Left-handed.
Okay.
Mike Gould was in the final. I beat Len earlier in the day. I believe I actually knocked Mike to the B-side as well. Okay. And then those two met in the B-side final.
And the winner to face you in the final.
That's correct.
Okay. Yeah. So, and who did you have in the final then?
Mike Gould.
Mike. Okay, and you beat Mike left-handed.
Yes.
So how about right-handed?
Right-handed, I lost to Len Houghton twice.
So he put you out somewhere during the preliminary rounds?
He put me down to the B-side. I believe it was my first match.
Okay.
And I went through the B-side, and I ended up, Mike Gould knocked Len down to the B. And I went against Len again, and he beat me. And I believe I took a fourth. And Len went on to go through the B-side, win the B-side, and he beat Greg Boyes in the B-side final. Okay. Went on to face Mike, and Mike beat him in the finals.
So just the names that were in that class, yourself and Mike Gould, Len Houghton, Greg Boyes, that's a pretty stacked.
It was a pretty good class.
Pretty stacked class, yeah.
I mean, at the time, I think the only guy that was missing was Earl.
Yeah.
I mean, there's new guys now, but at that time.
Yeah, at the time we had everybody there except for Earl. Yeah. At that point in time. So then it's on to. I didn't want to skip over this. So then at that time, probably even bigger than the world titles, as far as I'm concerned, and the national championships, then the Armwrestlers voted you the John Miastic Award winner, correct?
That was a pretty big honor. I mean, it was one of the best achievements I've had in my whole arm wrestling career, was to win that. Yeah, definitely. It even at the time, it almost looked, just from standing back watching you yourself, it seemed pretty humbling, to you yourself, like, wow, okay. I didn't it was something else. I don't even know how to describe it. And you yourself have won the award too, so I'm sure.
Well, I have, and it was yeah. It is almost an indescribable feeling. It was probably the best thing I can say is. I mean, I've never made a big name for myself on the table, but I was truly humbled and awed that the people would vote something like that for me. I'm going like, are you kidding? There's so many people that I look up to.
Being a guy that's like always voted for that, for whoever's going to win.
Yeah.
Like there's some debate that goes on amongst the arm wrestlers. They get in their groups and they talk, well, who deserves to win it, who should win it, and why, and we chat about it. And,
yes, without a doubt, yeah.
Yeah, so it's...
So, yeah, and especially when it's coming from your fellow arm wrestlers,
yeah,
it means that much more. And, I mean, just the name, especially in Canada, I know it probably does worldwide, just the name John Miazdick has so much meaning, but does it have a little bit more meaning in Canada? I think it does.
I think it does. Yeah.
I think it does, personally, but that's just me and my never-to-be-humble opinion. But
I mean, the man is Canadian. Right?
That is true. So when I've heard about him since I started in arm wrestling in the early 80s, I've heard about him, so... to be given anything in his name and honor is truly incredible, in my opinion. But so that's enough about me. Anyway, 2004. So did you go to Worlds that year? That was South Africa, I believe.
No, I didn't.
I may be mistaken.
I think you are mistaken.
I may be mistaken on that.
No, you're right. 2004. No, I did not go to the World Championships. They were in South Africa.
South Africa?
My daughter was born around the same time as the Worlds,
okay.
So I did not attend. I got into a different sport that fall, but...
okay, so let's touch on that right there. What did you get into that fall then?
I was training MMA all summer, and I think I hit about 335, 340 pounds by the Nationals that year.
Okay.
By the end of October, when I had my first scheduled match, I dropped down to 295.
Okay, so on purpose, you dropped down to 295?
Yeah, I was running and doing a lot of cardio, and got into mixed martial arts, climbed in that cage once for Ultimate Cage Wars in front of about 5,000 people in Winnipeg.
Okay, so what was that like? So they call your name and you're walking down the walkway, whatever they have, runway, to that. Is it an octagon or was it a ring?
It was an octagon.
Okay, so what was that like?
Oh, yeah, it's the scariest thing I've ever done in my life.
Really?
I mean, everybody's been in a fight, but
yeah,
you're walking to a cage and you got all these people watching you.
Yeah.
And then running into like coworkers and friends I haven't seen in years, sitting in the crowd watching.
Yeah.
And my opponent comes out, and he's an experienced kickboxer, and he's climbing in the cage, and they slam the door to close the cage.
I can't even imagine. It must be almost like surreal. You're there, and you know you're there, but you're thinking...
As the cage door slammed, it's like tunnel vision. You know, everything else is just kind of...
Okay, so the cage door closes. The referee starts the match, and what happens?
I came out and I threw a couple of wild haymaker punches out of just nerves, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, the story takes longer to tell than the actual fight. But he's coming in, he's throwing leg kicks, and I just thought, okay, calm down. And we trained for this, so the counter for a kick is like a straight punch.
Okay.
So I load up with my right hand, and he comes in and kicks, and I throw an overhand right, and it connects right on the jaw, and he backs up against the cage, and he sort of bends over and covers up, but his face was open, so I dropped down and I started throwing left uppercuts, and my punches were actually keeping him up. And I see the towel come flying over the cage from his corner, and the referee jumps in between us at the same time, and
that's
stops
it.
The fight.
Fight's over. So how long did that last?
16 seconds.
You're right. The story did take longer than the match.
Yeah.
So that's it. You know what's amazing to me is, so you remember all this detail.
I've
happened?
got almost photographic memory for certain things, but...
Well, no, but all this detail for 16 seconds of action, such a minuscule little part of your life, but all this detail.
Yeah, it's actually like a story people like to hear, and it's so I've told it about, I don't know, a couple hundred times.
Okay, so...
I got my trophy. I fought for free, by the way. It was...
You fought for nothing?
Yeah, I fought for nothing. I got a trophy for it, and it's sitting in my trophy case, and I showed up at my work the next day, and I work with youth and
Yeah.
at a correctional facility, and I showed up with a black eye and I had to bring my trophy in just to explain it.
So that's the one and only fight?
That was it, because my wife was 9 months pregnant at the time, and
Okay.
my baby comes along, and I just really didn't have time or care to train that much more.
Well, yeah, we'll take the
sport, and you know, I got offered lots of fights, but
really.
yeah, I didn't take any of them.
So no more desire to get back in the cage, and
it's always,
or is it no more desire to put in the work?
I'll never rule anything out, but you know, funny thing kind of happened, and I ended up having one of the biggest super matches of my whole life. But I stayed around the weight I was for fighting. I was, I think I was 290, 295 when I went out to Halifax and arm wrestled Travis Bagent, left-handed, and I don't know. I mean, I sat down. I lost that. I mean, it was close on paper. The results were 4-3, but really he was handing it to me. Like, I was okay outside the strap, but he was. Once we got in the strap, I couldn't do anything with me.
It looked like you had no answer for him in the straps. Honestly, that's just the way it looked.
I had nothing for him in the straps, and my power was not there. And at the time, I was still doing some strongman stuff. I was still training MMA, even though I wasn't fighting. A little bit. I was doing cardio and stuff. And after that match, I had a bunch of people back, and we were sitting there in my hotel room. And Joyce King says to me, she says, "Well, Ryan, you got to make a choice. You can either be really good at something or just okay at a whole bunch of things." So that was great advice, and
it's actually not bad, but you know.
I said, "Yeah, you're right." And I said, "I got to focus on. If I want to be a great arm wrestler, I've got to focus on arm wrestling." So
this is, of course, already after you've won 2 world titles and a couple Canadian titles.
Yeah, and you know, I kind of lost focus, and you know, I know.
Okay, let's just touch on the super match thing for just a second. So, I guess started. I had an idea in mind. So at the time, yourself, Ryan Espey, and Travis Bagent were the 2 biggest left-handed names in North America.
Yeah, at the time, yeah.
And at 2005, when I had this idea, so unlike what other promoters have done, so we paid for everything. We paid your flight, your hotel, and put up the cash. So this is the way we thought super matches should be put on. You're coming in to put on a show for us. Yeah. We're paying. So are we on the wrong boat? Or is everybody else? You know what I mean? I see everybody else doing it. Arm wrestlers are putting up their own money to go in these so-called super matches, challenge matches. How do you feel this should be working?
How do I feel? Well, what other sport do arm wrestlers have to gamble on themselves? I completely disagree. Like, you know, I'm probably going to hear about this from Pete Milano or something like that on the message.
Well, and you know, and so will I probably, but
I don't think that an arm wrestler should put up their own money. You know, I was willing to do it.
Yeah.
Because to get into some matches that I wanted, but why am I putting up money and traveling and putting up everything myself? And if I lose, I basically lose everything. And if I win, I just get enough to cover my trip.
Right.
You know, in some cases, not even. That's not how the sport should be. And, you know, some arm wrestlers may have lots of money to spend. Some don't. And it becomes too much like gambling, in my opinion.
Okay.
And, you know, promoters, I think, if they really want to put on a strong event, can put up some cash for the arm wrestlers out of their pocket instead of putting on a show where the arm wrestlers arrange all their own travel and accommodations, and they show up, they put up their own money, and the promoter looks like a genius because he puts on a spectacular event.
Yeah.
But it hasn't really costed him anything.
Okay.
You know, basically it's a trophy tournament with super matches.
Yeah.
That were paid for by the guys in the super matches.
Okay.
You know, the professional boxers or other professional fighters show up, and
the
promoter pays nothing, but they show up to the event and they put their money down on the table and they fight, and the winner takes it. You know, It's like any other one-on-one sport. You know, it's almost like baseball players like Pete Rose gambling on his own sport, and he's never going to get into the Hall of Fame because of it.
Because yeah, definitely. So at the time, I thought we were on the right track. I thought this is the way we thought that this is the way things should go.
I think it is. I totally agree.
So this is what we put on. So now, as one of the competitors, I mean, how did you feel about that weekend? We still think, and I thought it was a great job.
That was.
Right?
You guys picked me up in a limo at the airport. You know, the show was great. Like, the venue was great. Yeah, guys. I mean, the only thing I would have done differently is made it a major card, because I felt like me and Travis failed to draw the crowd. You know what I mean?
No, I do know what you mean, and we did debate that. Should it just be you guys, or should it be, you know, we probably could have tried to line up a few other things. We had really no idea what we were getting into and what kind of money it was going to cost, and so this was our first venture into doing anything like this. So, and then looking back, I mean, even watching a video of it at a later time, I thought you guys did put on a good show. Number one, and we had another small event, strong hand hold or something that some of the guys
I tried to match showmanship with Travis, but you know, just can't be done.
It's tough. It's tough. He really plays to the crowd very well. He really does.
I'm not even going to play that game. Like, that's his thing.
No, and that's right, though, and you came off looking pretty good yourself, so he played to the crowd a bit and did his thing, and yes, on paper it was pretty close. I think it went 4-3.
4-3 was the final.
Yeah. So, and everything was fine outside the straps, and as you said, in the straps, you just had no answer. In the
straps, he had it, so once he figured that out, every match was like this.
Yeah.
And referees called him on it a lot. But still, I mean, we ended up in the straps, and that's how it went.
No, that's right.